My eyeballs.
Okay, I make a motion to go into executive session for interviews for appointment of a particular person with the town clerk and the town board.
I'll second that.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Blackman?
Yes.
And Revelard?
Yes.
Okay, and the time is 6:34.
Now it is.
Make a motion to return to regular meeting.
Second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revelard?
Yes.
Please rise and salute the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Emergency exits are behind the town attorney and also the door you came in. Roll, please.
Supervisor Perotti?
Here.
Councilpersons Doyle? Here. Gutierrez?
Here.
Blackman?
Here.
Revelard?
Yes, here.
And we will now have a presentation of the Highway Garage Concept Plan by Labella Engineering Company.
Okay.
Wanna
Good evening.
Introduce yourself.
Absolutely. All right. First of all, good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us. So I'm Pasquale Marchese. I'm with Labella Associate. I'm a senior project manager, and I'm with the team. We are following this project. We're hoping to provide enough information between all the road that we went through and collect the information. We counted the question, then we answer and collect the information, and we put it together at this presentation to the board to make sure that all the expectations have been met. So if we start to go through. So the nice person over there is myself. So sorry. Thank you, Mr. Flynn. All right. So the agenda for tonight. So we went through different steps before we arrive at tonight. And the first thing was to understand what the town has at the current time and the condition they are. So we will see existing condition of the town highway garage. After that, we ask different questions to understand what is working and what is not working. And we collect based on the number of the fleet of the highway garage currently of the department, based on the condition of how many people they are working in the garage, and other items. We identify scope items. Then we will go through one by one. Those they were furnished by town supervisor, Councilman Pickham.
Blackman?
Blackman.
Close enough.
Close enough. And highway supervisor. And from that, we start our design process. So the design process, the first thing we did, we evaluated the site, and we evaluate also the footprint of the building that we go on the site, plus any other layout, any other specific location for sand pile, gravel pile, salt storage shed. All those things we have put together and we create a site layout, then we review. And finally, we went through and we designed, we put it together a layout of the building itself. Then we will review. We have an example of the salt and sand proposed design. We will have some 3D view of, it's a concept. So if you don't like the color, you don't like the trim, this is just a concept. It's just to give you a little bit of 3D view of what can happen, but nothing is set in stone. And then finally, it's financial review of probably estimate cost. Obviously, how everybody knows right now, we are living in really the fluctuation of the market, construction market, is unpredictable right now. So we give our best guess. Again, it's a probable cost. It's an estimate. The design is not done yet. It's not even, we have just a concept. So let's start. So existing town highway garage. Oh, sorry. I was going with my click. So, for... Huh?
You want to go back?
No. This is fine. Yeah, thank you. So, so the first picture, the one on top, right there, is the current location. This is here is the highway garage. You can see, right? Can we maybe
Can we hit
turn
the
off
lights?
the lights? Yeah. You can turn off the one over there.
You can turn them both off just fine.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So the current location, first what we're going to see, this is the location of the highway garage, plus all the stockpile and stuff that are right here. There is and this piece here, little bit, if you can see, that's the small salt shed. So the first thing is then we evaluate, well, unfortunately, if we want to do any work with this garage, we have to go through a huge remediation because the garage is currently in the flood zone. So this is the one part of the garage. This is the interior. This is some kind of break office room. This is a not accessible toilet. This is the inside the bay, open bay. And this is the salt shed. So the current space is 3,800 square feet. They include, like we saw, the break room / office and the bathroom. So the issue we have, it's not accessible. So we not meet any kind of any of the ANSI code. Safety is an issue. There is no backup power. Right now, all the highway garage are considered essential facility, so they should be operative through 24/7. We talk about it's located in the flood zone, and then the privacy. Obviously, the bathroom or the office, if the highway supervisor is having some privacy discussion, there's no place where to go and have a privacy discussion. So we collect all those information, and based on our experience and based on the needs of, we have discussed with town officials. We have come up with a list of scope items that we identify here. So the first things we say, okay, we cannot do anything in the current site. So town supervisor Perot said, well, we just purchased a land where it can be a great site, great location for our new highway garage. Can you guys see if it fits, if it meets our needs? So you can see here. This location here, it's right out of Route 22, and it is side by side. You can see on the picture, aerial picture here, it's where the DOT, I believe, right? The DOT garage is currently. So, where was those items then we have discussed? So we have, so the first is, to be budget conscious. So we say, okay, a pre-engineered metal building probably is the best option here to try to stay with the price. 6 bays with potential all drive-through bays. We'll need at least 1 wash bay to clean the trucks, especially during winter time, and keep it inside. So outside, during summer, everybody can do outside, but especially winter time when we know where we are in kind of northeast New York. Concrete radiant heat floor, that's mostly for safety because when the truck goes inside, there is snow melting. And if the garage is not well heated, it can create ice and then slip and falls. At least a couple office for privacy with bathroom, accessible bathroom. Then we space for drivers, mechanic bathroom, shower, because people in a state of emergency, people, they will stay like overnight in this location, and locker room. Then staff break room that can be used also for training. Enough storage. We talk about the area for overnight stay, heating, cooling. Oil separator, because if we use for washing the bus, if we have a floor drain, we need the oil water separator. Fortunately, we will need to have a well and septic system, fire suppression, a possible lift, then we have to evaluate, depend on the timing. Backup generator, so it can operate also in case of emergency if power goes off. The salt storage, big enough that now can store salt and sand, so the sand doesn't go bad, so at the same time you save some money. So with the mixing area if possible, and then the fuel station, they would be above ground. And we will have a diesel and gas if we go, and then if we go to electric. So those are the items that, let's say, kind of not really a wish list. You know, we could have a hot tub and 25, 50 inches TV, 70-inch TV. Those are kind of based on the town population. Then we see also with the neighbor town or other project that we have been working. This is a typical standard size need for a town similar to Amenia. So what we have done, so we go through first to the site plan. Okay. So the site is well situated. Unfortunately, the entrance has a pretty high slope. So that's the reason we have the kind of, to create a road from here to go inside. Here is where we located the footprint of the building. Here is the salt shed. Here is the stockpile. So to create a road that will allow trucks to go in and out to a visible, let's say, slope, we had to have this kind of curve because there is a big slope. You see a lot of contours here. So that means that the site is pretty slow. So we locate, like I said, we located the building in this area. So this is kind of, we show kind of a layout of a major tractor trailer going in and going out. So we have enough space for maneuvering these big trucks when they come and deliver sand, gravel, or inerts that you need. So on this corner here, we will locate the salt shed storage. So based on the needs currently for salt and sand, we are going for about 50 deep to 75 wide. So you have enough space to store sand, salt, and have in the middle space for mixing. Then at the beginning, we will have the transformer on this corner here. Hold on. I know I'm pretty far. So this area here is where the transformer and the pump station to feed the septic system in this area here is. Like I said, this is the footprint of the building. And this area here, away from all the main traffic, we located the fuel pump and the fuel tanks. We have as an alternate, because we start to have some conversation about what happens if we want to have an all-electric building, so we will not use propane. So right now we design with whole electric, but with an alternate for the propane underground tank. So it's just an alternate, just put it there in case we have an issue, but right now everything is electrified. So the building, so the trucks, all the fleet can come from one side. We will look at the design that it's a little bit bigger, but in this case, we locate the building in a location where operation can happen around the building, So if they are working inside of the building, operation outside, they will not interrupt. So, keeping going, I have a quick sneak preview for you guys. So this is where we're looking right now. So this is a look from the entrance. So coming from here down, okay? So we will come down. This is the salt storage shed. Those are the 3 stockpile. Then we're talking, those are the 6-bay garage. This is a cold storage right here. And then it goes around. We have also other picture to go around. Here we have the transformer for to the utility service, and then we have also the pump station for the septic system. Okay, so now go to the next. So this is the footprint that, based on all the items that we looked like 2 slides before, we put it together, and so you will see we have, if we start from the right, we have an area where there is cold storage here. It's covered but not enclosed. Then we have 6 bays, and they are all drive-through bays. We will provide obviously drainage with a trench each side, in the middle, and both at the exit or entrance. We depend on how you see it, because what we see is the water is there where usually goes, and we don't want to let water get out. We go directly in the trench drain, and from there oil water separator is required by DEC. One of this one will be dedicated, and that's when we go to the final design, will be dedicated for if there is any welding, if there is a lift, if there is a wash bay. So once the design is going to be developed, those things. Right now we're looking more as a schematic spatial layout. Then when we go, so we have the 6 bays. Now we go, here is the entrance for if somebody has to go to the office. We have 2 office in this area here. We have in this corner here is the, let's say the office or guest bathroom. Then we have 2 gang bathroom, male and female, for the employee. Then we have a locker, a single units locker / shower. And then if we go here, it's part of the storage. Here is the break room / training room, and here is where the people, if they stay overnight, they can spend the night. Now, to enhance the storage for the highway needs, what we did above, because we have a high bay in this area here, because the trucks, they will need to also raise their bed to be washed underneath. So this area here will be pretty high bay. So to have a better usage of the high bay here, we provide, there is a stairs here, and then above here there is a storage space for anything that parts, tires, any need that you have. Sometimes some parts or some equipment cannot brought by hands. So above, from the mezzanine, we will have a spring gate where if you have something heavy then you want to store, can go up with the lift, open up the gate, the spring gate for safety, open the gate, and you can locate up in the mezzanine. Now, we go a little bit in the weeds, but those something that I want to tell you, because we had some thoughts. So if we have something heavy, how we go up on the mezzanine? So those things here have already taught. So the facility, for the size of the usage, need to be fire sprinkler. So this fire sprinkler is it's furnished for this. I try always to change from my clicker when it's not. So this is like an exterior elevation plus a 3D view. So you see there is a part of cold storage outside, here the 6 bays, and then the cold storage at the other side there. So this is the view from, let's call from the back. And this is the elevation from the front. So you see the 6 bays, this is the cold storage here, this is the entrance to the side of the office. This is the salt/sand storage. So like we talk about it, 75 wide, 50 feet deep. So they will provide enough space for sand, salt, and mixing area. And then here are some of the views of, again, this is just concept. If the color, don't like the color, it's okay. We can change. But just to give you like a 3-dimensional of space of what the facility will look and how much space it will take. And then, at least you see, okay, that's cold storage, that's the facility, that's the salt shade storage. Now, finance. So for finance, we have divided the site work. Let me see to my last page, because I'm getting old, I can't see from there. All right, so we have divided by, let's say, by discipline. So we have a site, building, then we divide the salt shed, the fuel island, the fire suppression system, and then solar system, because we want to make sure that if we want to go electrify, we provide high efficiency and sustainable energy. So in the future, or depend how things going, the facility can be self-sufficient. Unfortunately, obviously, the backup generator will need to be with some additional fuel or additional power, unless we will have a backup battery. But right now, to feed a facility this size, you will need a pretty substantial number of size of battery. So right now, the battery are a little bit, I'm not saying not to do it, but you need more space. So, if we look, I'm going to try to be as clear as possible. This column here is strictly base cost. The second column is 4% of inflation. Now, before pandemic, we were seeing, usually when we were doing an estimate, we were calculating between 2.5–3% a year inflation. During the pandemic, we had a circumstance where the inflation went up to 10 to 15%. Now we're seeing that it's going down again, but it's kind of stabilized. So we're not too far from the construction. So that's the reason you see a 4% inflation right now. Okay. Then the third column is the design contingency. Sometimes, if you change things after the bid that are awarded, that we need to make some design change. That's usually is just an assurance. And then while the construction goes on and on, slowly this contingency is going to be retired and put it in the main part of money.
What percentage is that?
That's 5%.
5%.
Yeah, sorry, I should have said that. My apologies. And then the fourth column is the construction contingency. That's 10% right now. And then we have the incidental contingency, another 10%. So usually, rule of thumb is the contingency in kind of a construction market goes between 30 to 25%, and include the soft cost, architecture fee, engineering fee, insurance, all kind of stuff. So I keep like 29, I believe, right? 10, yep, 29. But the 4% of inflation, usually it's apart, so let's say 25, because this is a new facility. Technically, with the new facility, you can lower the contingency, because technically you shouldn't have any surprise. So, base cost is $4,351,050. Then including inflation, 4%, design contingency 5%, construction contingency 10%, and what is that? I forgot. Oh, incidental contingency, sorry. Another 10%. Total project budget, and that it's include everything. It's $5,612,854.50 cents. And the couple question. Oh, thank you.
What is the square footage of the new proposed? So I think you said there was 3,800 square feet of the
The
existing?
existing, the new is 12,800.
Okay.
They will not include the salt shed.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, he sent, you have
Everybody
all that
wake up.
in an email.
Wake up.
He sent everything to us.
Okay. I haven't really had a chance to.
Pascal, we
No,
had
I just wanted to let you know
talked
what you
about
had.
solar on the roof
Yes.
in our back and forth. Since you and I had that conversation, I had a separate conversation with NYSEG, because obviously the town garage would have its own electrical meter. We could generate some solar power, that'd be great. But we have, I don't know how many different meters we have. How many do we have? 7, 8?
At least.
At least. So the question I put to NYSEG was, if we were generating excess capacity at this location, could we net meter across multiple meters? And they took a little while to get back to us, but ultimately their response was that we could bundle 10 of our meters together, that we could run off the generation from this facility. So if it's possible to do that, we could theoretically not have any electric bills for any of the town properties if
Right. Yep.
but that would be an additional expense to basically cover
Yeah,
the
because
roof.
now we have to, yes, because we have to run everything. You will have like a main distribution panel and then run everything from the inverter. The inverter would be on top of the, in the garage, obviously.
Yeah.
Because that's where the location of your solar panel, but then from there you have to have distribution to your other facility.
No, it goes to the grid. It's just a
Oh,
net
so-
meter.
Oh, okay.
It's just an accounting trick. You're not
Oh,
actually
just
wiring.
account.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So we would just put all the excess generation that the facility didn't need
Yeah,
back out.
they usually bank all your, the in excess that
Kilowatt,
you
yeah.
produce. And then in this case, obviously, what I know, sorry, it's not like I'm an expert in solar, but I have solar on my house. So they usually, they bank if you don't use, not use in excess, and then slowly in the winter time, they will give back.
Right.
But the thing that we need to be careful is we have to make sure that the system will produce enough energy to, to in excess, to not just for the garage, but also for the other facility. Or it just, you get like an allowance back, I guess, right?
It's an accounting allowance, exactly
Right,
that. So
okay.
if the highway garage is using 10 kilowatt hours a
Right.
month, I'm making these numbers up, and the town hall here and the pump house and the lighting district, if they're all using, 90 more per month,
Right.
if the solar array is generating 100,
It will be whatever,
you
yeah.
just zero out, so you
Right.
wouldn't have a bill.
Yep,
It would be good, in that scenario, the panels would effectively pay for themselves. It would be obviously it would
Right.
have to be an incremental cost on the project, but I'm not sure about the sort of load on the roof or?
No, the load on the roof, so usually a panel, it's like 4 to 5 pounds a square feet. So, and if that's the way the town would like to go, once, if we do, well, whoever does the final design,
Yeah.
they will, if it is a pre-engineered metal building, those parameters, they will be given to the pre-engineered manufacturer. So they will, it's the same like if you have like any kind of rooftop units on top of the pre-engineered metal building, or you hanging inside of the building, any kind of unit. So those parameters you will give in advance to the manufacturer that will manufacture the metal building. So all those weight will be already kind of in count when they do the size of the members,
Okay.
the structural members. So, and then, the other part is if it is like a standard steel building, at that point, the structural engineer will count all those load when do the calculation and the size of the members. So.
Okay.
So everything, just a coordination, it's like more information can collect in advance and better it is. Because as probably you guys know, when you order a pre-engineered metal building, the reason it's kind of cheaper than regular standard metal building is because they reduce the load and minimum requirement. So, and that's when you make some change on those buildings, you have to almost strain it out all this build that like a full structure.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. You've done a great job.
Thank you, my
Really
pleasure.
implementing everything that, we've talked about in our meetings. The town board will need some time to
Yeah, absolutely.
review it, and anybody on the town board has any questions, they can ask them to ask Pascal directly.
Do we have this presentation?
Yes,
as
you
a-
do.
You do?
When did that get sent
It was
today?
emailed to
No, no, I'm saying in our packets. We don't have it.
No.
Okay, great. Thanks.
I can have it printed and put in your mailboxes if you want, but it was sent to you.
Any additional question? We good?
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. My pleasure. It's been great working with you guys.
Well, you're not done yet.
All right, thank you.
Is there any public comment? There's no public comment. We'll go right to the supervisor's report. Association of Towns Certified Town Official Program. Supervisor Perotti successfully completed the Association of Towns Certified Town Official Program on April 19, 2023 by attending training classes for 30 credits in 10 categories: assessor, attorney, code enforcement, justice court, planning and zoning, highway, supervisor, tax collection, town board, and town clerk. This is my official certification. It says Association of Towns Certified Town Official. This certifies that Victoria Perotti, Town Supervisor, Town of Amenia, is a certified town official, having amassed a total of 30 credits in 10 different town government subject areas. By completing these courses, you have demonstrated a steadfast dedication and commitment to your town and public service. The Association of Towns and its executive committee congratulate you on your newly designated status as a certified town official. And it's signed by Executive Director Gerald Geis.
Congrats.
Thank you. Highway Garage and Salt Shed, Labella Engineering will be presenting a concept plan at the May 18th meeting, which the town board will review and plan the next steps. CDBG Route 44 sidewalk ramp. Route 44 sidewalk project has been rebid, and bids are due on June 6th. Supervisor Perotti put the information on BidNet, which will make it available to over 200 vendors. The engineer sent information to minority and women-owned business lists provided by Dutchess County Planning, and the town clerk is publishing a notice in the local newspaper. Amenia Water District. We're waiting for the $481,000 grant funds to be received for lead and copper inventory. Phase 1 testing is being completed for potential new wells in order to replace older wells. Well 5 repairs will be started shortly. Hazardous weather and other notifications. In order for people to be made aware of hazardous weather conditions and other emergency situations, Dutchess County has created a free app for cell phones called Ready Dutchess. Once the app is installed, you will be notified of any impending conditions. The app will let you know when there is a message, in addition to having other helpful information. Town of Amenia website and Channel 22. Administrators for the website are Annette Kelligan, extension 105, Nancy Nowak at extension 108, who can add items to the website as requested by organizations, committees, and boards. Events by organizations, churches, and schools can be advertised on local Channel 22 by sending information to Amenia TV at ameniany.gov. Town of Amenia COVID-19. Amenia town offices are open Monday through Thursday. Masks are optional, are available in an envelope in the second set of doors. Signing the visitor log is required. COVID-19 test kits are available for anyone who needs one. COVID-19 vaccine information. Vaccine appointments for homebound people can be made by calling 845-486-2555. COVID-19 vaccines and booster shots are available at Amenia Drugs. Call for appointment 845-373-8000, and CVS pharmacies. Go online to schedule an appointment. Town clerk report.
Good evening, and again, congratulations. It's always nice to see the continuing
Yes,
education.
the town clerk also
So
has that
it is
certification.
great to have a colleague next to me. So for the board to know that for tax collection to date, I have collected $6,766,127.17. In penalties to date, we've collected $20,036.32 with $24 in notice fees, with the remaining on the 100 parcels that are left, $566,561.30. I do present with our regret the resignation of Nicole Ahern. Is the board prepared to accept that?
Yes, I make a motion to accept with regret and to thank her for all the wonderful work she did in the department.
I'll second that.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
No.
And Rebellard.
Yes.
Also, I know that we had the opportunity to interview candidates. Is the board ready to make any appointments this evening?
Make a motion that we appoint Bill Flood to the Water District Committee.
Second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Rebellard.
Yes.
And I make a motion to appoint Frank Spano Jr. to the Comp Plan Committee.
Second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Rebellard.
Yes.
Welcome, Frank. I know he's in the room. Also want to acknowledge that our operating statement and balance sheet for the month ending of April has been circulated, and with that being said, I am presenting the vouchers. I do have an abstract that's been circulated before the board, and the vouchers have been reviewed, and they are as follows. Our General Fund A, $97,654. Highway Fund, $26,149.69. Amenia Lighting, $831.81. Wasaik Lighting, $319.08. Amenia Water, $34,713.63, with a total on this month's abstract, $159,614.75. At this time, I'm requesting the authorization for the supervisor to pay claims as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Rebellard?
Yes.
Also acknowledging in circulation in our email packets, we have the SEBI Environmental Services monthly report for April. It does indicate the total number of gallons pumped, as well as there's an average per day pumped distribution rate, customer calls, water line markouts, emergency response repairs, and any other matters and concerns that was handled by the water operator. In our packets this evening is our monthly building department report totaling for the income of April $15,822.50. He also does indicate on here that there were 4 violations that were issued during the month of April, with all of our supporting documentation attached. We talk about recognition, we talk about pride, we talk about continuing education, we talk about May being Mother's Day. I think that was pretty exciting. I know we're excited about Memorial Day coming up. There's just another little personal thing this month that I like to talk about, is that this upcoming week, May 21st through May 27th, is EMS Appreciation. So I'd like to go ahead and give a shout out to all of my Amenia and Wassaic EMTs, Aaron Howard, Andrew Scott Murphy, Chris Zachary, Carly Kligner, and from Wassaic, Tim Shea, his wife Keely Shea, and Deanna Dingy. Of course, myself as serving as our captain for Amenia. You know, the effort and energy that it takes to be an EMT in this community, we are all 100% volunteers, and I know that when the red fire truck comes roaring down the street with the really full sirens going off, every little kid jumps and is excited. And sometimes we look at the white little bus-like vehicle coming down with the big red cross on it as something sometimes scary. I wanted to just let everybody know in the community that you know, we don't jump with joy when we see the ambulance, because that means somebody has a boo-boo or someone's hurt. But I want you to know that that is one of the safest vehicles that you will ever be in. We are there to help you in your time of need. When you are hurt or you're injured or your loved one is going through a tough time, we are there. And it takes a team, it takes heart, it takes soul to want to volunteer. So not only do I recognize an extreme joy and proud to be part of the Amenia Rescue Squad with an amazing team that I have next to me, but I also want to try to recruit. As you heard the names that I called, we are just a handful in such a large area that we cover. So if anyone's ever interested in becoming a EMT, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Stop by the town clerk's office if you want to know more about it. Our initial class is 180 hours. There are labs. It's a lot of work. It's stressful. You have to take a New York State test. It's almost like taking the Regents all over again, just you're an adult. But it's one of the most rewarding jobs that you will ever have. And, you know, I am extremely thankful for the jobs that we do, the things that we see. I do know and recognize that I do have Millerton members in the room, and working side by side, Amenia, Wassaic, Millerton, and Dover, we are a tight-knit group when there's a time of need, and I think that we all support each other well, and it's a family. So if you're looking for something to do in your spare time and not just hang out here in a town board meeting, please feel free to reach out. We'd be glad to give you an application, and I can connect you with the right people to get you your training completed. So congratulations, everyone, in celebrating this special week for us. And we actually have hi, Carly's here. She's not only one of our volunteers, but she also works for NDP. So as everybody knows, the town of Amenia has a contract with NDP. They provide emergency services for us with a rotating schedule, and they are paid. But you know, not only volunteering and giving back to the community, sometimes we love it that much that we want to go and get paid for the job that we volunteer for. So thank you to everybody, and thank you, Carly, including the all of them that cover the 22 corridors. So we thank you. With that being said, on that joyous note, that will conclude tonight's town clerk report.
Wastewater Committee report with engineer and attorney recommendations.
Hello, Charlie Miller. Excuse me, my allergies are crazy, so if I cough a lot. I'm the chair of the Amenia Wastewater Committee, and we're going to give a quick update. I'm actually going to There's a lot of slides here, but I'm going to go through them very quickly because a lot of it's been covered before, but I thought it'd be good to sort of lay the foundation for the conversation, and then the engineering firm and attorney that the wastewater committee is recommending to go forward with the next phase of this project will get up and chat. Just a quick little background about wastewater in the hamlet of Amenia. It's something that clearly has been on the agenda for the last 50 years. This is just a list of the various different plans and feasibility studies and map plans and reports that have actually been done. You know, the most recent, in 1991, the master plan talked about it being one of the most important things to happen to Amenia, and of course, when we updated our comp plan in 2007, it's the one thing that has not happened. The big question, why this project, why now? The hamlet of Amenia has a significant number of failed septic systems. You know, most of our lots in the hamlet are very small. Our businesses are limited because of their inability to take advantage of the size of their lots because of wastewater. Growth in the hamlet is near impossible. We've all seen the declines on Main Street, and then of course the most probably important, which is the environmental quality issues. Municipal wastewater system will solve this problem by replacing failing systems. It'll be an insurance against the cost of maintaining, repairing, or replacing current systems, some of which can't even be replaced. It'll allow people to be able to refinance or sell their property. It has been an issue in some of the recent transactions. And then, of course, it will create a downtown for residents. I'm not going to go through all these points. Oops, we have double slides. So the funding, the 2021 bipartisan infrastructure bill allocated $12 billion to wastewater projects, specifically looking at disadvantaged communities, which Amenia is one, and 50% of that money is in the form of grants. And the New York State Water Infrastructure Improvement Act, or WIA, will fund 25% of a project up to $5 million. Our project is just shy of $20 million, so that would be 25% of our project. And it too is about disadvantaged communities as well as improving a health impact. So the feasibility study. The town engaged Ty and Bond Engineering in 2021, and then they created an engineering report following these steps. First, identifying the need, recommending an approach, and then executing a scope of work, which was looking at the sewer district, specifically where the most need is, delineating it, determining what the water flow would be, because that's how you decide what size of a system would be, proposing a treatment system, and then at the end of the day coming up with a report and an opinion of cost. So the first thing that the wastewater committee did after engaging Ty and Bond was that we surveyed residents in Amenia. We sent out surveys, and then we ultimately called people. The most impressive, I think, number here is that 38% of residents said that yes, there is a problem that they know of. And although it's 43%, this is the chart on the lower right-hand corner, 43% when asked if they would, 68%, if I can read that right, said that yes, there is a problem in the hamlet. So almost 2/3. And 38% of people said that yes, they would connect to the system, and 43% didn't really have an opinion on it, but we will show you how that changes by the time I get to the end of this presentation. The needs analysis, well, what are the areas that have issues? We have very high groundwater here. We have very small lots, which make it very difficult for wastewater. And then the considerations, looking at the surveys, looking at the types of soil and the topography, as well as the wetland that we have downtown, formulates the basis of the actual, there we go, of the district. So the engineers put together a proposed sewer district that goes east to the health center, north to Freshtown, and includes all of the Freshtown parcel. It's west to Welsh, and then south down to Fudgies. And it also includes the neighborhood that is just off Depot Hill Road. There are a total of 233 parcels. 168 residential, and 65 commercial. So this is just a summary of that kind of crossroads as to where it is. Also, it covers the disadvantaged community and an environmental justice area, which is another point for funding at the federal level. So now that you have the district, it's ultimately finding out what is the flow, and that's really, we have an existing drinking water district, so the vast majority of parcels that are in this proposed wastewater district also are in the water district, so they have meters, and so you're able to determine how much water they all use. So the engineers reviewed the water data from Q420 to 3Q 2021, and ultimately came up with a proposed 75,000 gallons per day for this water system. And that includes a 10% factor for just safety and a 20% expansion factor in the future. So the type of collection, currently now everybody has, for the most part, a septic tank and either a leach field or possibly a cesspool. This system, which is the most common, that's being proposed by the engineer, for rural areas like ours, is a septic tank effluent or a step system. It's where you maintain a septic tank for a parcel, or several parcels share one septic tank, and then the effluent, which is the liquid, is pumped to a treatment facility. So the solids that are maintained in the septic tank would be pumped, every 3 to 7 years. That cost would be assumed by the district. I should also say that the cost of anything from the home to the septic tank and then being pumped to the treatment facility would be the cost of the project. There would be no upfront costs or connection fees by the homeowner or the business owner in this study. That's just what I said. This is how step systems work. And if I go too fast, flag me later. I'm more than happy to talk your ear off about sewage systems. The piping that would go from that septic system, from that septic tank at each parcel or shared parcels to the treatment facility would be done by horizontal directional boring. This technology has been around for a very long time. It does not interrupt people's yards. It can go underneath trees and roads, houses, pools. There is an entry point and an exit point. So it's a really great way of actually laying the pipe. This was something that came up in a number of our community forums, was how will all this be done? Are you going to be tearing up my yard and things like that? And no, for the most part. And anything that would be disturbed, we would put back. So the effluent has to be treated at some location. The wastewater committee examined 15 potential locations. This is sort of a map of Amenia. The yellow squares are the various different locations that we looked at. The light green squares are what we explored further. So there were 3 parcels that we explored further. We have an issue, which is the same reason that we need a municipal wastewater, is that we have small parcels, we're in a floodplain. It kind of limits where you can put a treatment facility. And there's 2 ways, once you treat the effluent, that you then discharge it. Either you go, like many homes in rural areas, where you discharge into a leach field, right? So you need a lot of area. Or you treat it and then you discharge into a moving body of water, a stream or a brook or something like that. The vast majority of all of these parcels would have been used as leach fields. They didn't work out. The top parcel, which is actually used to be the Carnicki, it's now owned by Silo Ridge, it was looked at as being a subsurface or leach field type of distribution. It's too small, so it can't be used for that. And the property that the study is based on is on Lake Amenia Road. It's behind the sheriff's substation. It's at the lower left there. The discharge would be into Amenia Stream, which abuts that parcel. Silo Ridge also discharges into Amenia Stream as well, about a mile or so down. So the treatment of the effluent The system that was chosen for this study is moving bed biofilm reactor. This sounds ridiculous. MBBR. It's ultimately containers filled with plastic beads, and organic matter grows on these beads. There's air that's pumped through them. The organic matter breaks down, the stuff in the effluent, and then ultimately is treated with ultraviolet light and is discharged into a moving body of water. This is a picture of what those containers look like. It's a round piece that ultimately is buried subsurface. So this has a very low visual impact. This is a couple of images of them being deployed. So as you can tell, they're pretty much subsurface. There's only like a small manhole cover. The image to the right is actually in a apartment building complex. So these are used in very near to residences. There's really no odor and there's no noise associated with them. This is a layout of the parcel that we have identified. It shows in the bottom portion of it where there would be a driveway, and those MBBRs would be buried under the ground. And there's one small control building, and then the arrow blue going to your right is the discharge into the stream. So after the engineers, figured out how many parcels, what the flow rate was going to be, what type of treatment was going to be used, they put together a cost estimate, based on a methodology that is commonplace. So let's get to this. This particular project, the estimated cost is, again, just shy of 19 million. That includes the cost of construction. It includes the engineering of it. It also provides for a 30% contingency, as well as cost of inflation over 3 years of 4%, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure that's the 3 years, 4%. So that is your build-out cost. And then you have what is going to be your operations and maintenance, so your O&M cost. That is, you have to go and you pump these septic tanks every 3 to 7 years. There's an operator who would come and check on the system several times a week. There are chemicals and things of that nature, and electricity, and that came out to 181. So it is a combination of the 19 million and change divided by 30 years, and then the O&M cost, which makes up the user fees, right? User fees are, majority is the payback of the capital cost, and then it's the operating and maintenance. So, debt service. So we call this debt service, but the assumption in the report is that under the BIL, for disadvantaged environmental justice communities, you can actually get debt financing at 0% over 30 years. So this is ultimately just paying back. When you see the debt service, that's just paying back the money that we're borrowing without interest. And then to get to what the ultimate user fee is, it's typical in these systems to use EDUs, which is equivalent dwelling unit. We had based it on $63 a month for the average single-family user, and then the small business user accepting a bit of a larger piece of that. Of course, in the map planning report, that will change, because that's when you ultimately solidify what your user fees are going to be. So how is the project to be financed? Well, like I said before, the BIL will fund possibly up to 50% if we get our score high enough for that. WIA will fund possibly 25% of our project. There's also opportunities through the USDA Rural Development Program and a couple others. I will say that we did win an engineering planning grant that pays for 80% of the cost of the engineer report that this is based off of. So we've already got a little bit of money. So community engagement, I should be going a lot faster here. So the wastewater committee asked ourselves one question after we got the report. is there community support for this project given what the fees would be? That's the most important. That's our decision point. So if it's yes, we go on to the next phase, which is map plan and report. If it's no, then that's the end of this, right? We're not going forward. So we did extensive public engagement. We had 8 public forums that included, public presentations of this town board as well as others. We did in-person community forums. We did online Zoom meetings. We met with business owners and had a forum there. Some of the town board members attended that. We have presented to the Amenia Planning Board and had questions and answers from them. We've presented to the zoning board. We sent mailings to every resident who is in the proposed district. We put flyers on their doors. We answered emails. We have a Facebook page that we have responded to. All of this material is on our Facebook page. We concluded everything with knocking on doors. So the committee went out and we knocked on everybody's door who is in the proposed district to ask them if they knew about the project, to answer any of their questions, and then ultimately ask them, would you support moving forward to the next phase? So this was the response to all of that engagement. We had almost 83% of homeowner respondents said yes to forming the district. People understand that forming the district doesn't mean that you're going to build the district. They understand that you have to form the district before you can apply for much of the funding, and that without a proper funding structure, that nobody's going to have to spend a dime, right? So 83%. Commercial owners, even higher. 88% of commercial respondents said yes to forming the district. And this is just a breakout so that you understand, and I can post this presentation. The number of the chart, the number is the number of respondents, the percentage of the sample size. So on the businesses, 80 some odd percent, I can't see it from here, responded. Assessed value, it relates to the petition signing process. So we just also wanted to see where we were with the percentage of assessed value that was represented by commercial owners and by residential owners. So decision point, is there significant support? Clearly, there's significant support. So the map plan and report. So the map plan and report is the next phase of this project. It is prepared by a New York State licensed engineer in cooperation with an attorney who specializes in forming special districts. Surprisingly enough, a lot of sewer districts are not formed in this state. Sewer districts frequently are expanded upon, those that are existing, but new ones, not so much. The map plan report shows the boundaries of the proposed district. It is based, by the way, off of the engineering report, but there's additional engineering work done. Details the general plan of the district. Budget is a big part of it, as well as user fees and funding sources. And it forms the basis for the petition to be signed by district residents, or owners rather, property owners, which ultimately is what forms the district. So with that, the wastewater committee sent out an RFP to engineers as well as to attorneys who specialize in this work. We chose several to do further due diligence on, and we have recommended to the town board that they move forward with LaBerge Group, which is a very well recognized engineering group that have done many map planning reports, as well as TRK. And there are representatives from both of those firms here to speak to you and answer any of your questions. Before I give it away, does anybody have a question for me? Fantastic.
Well, how are you planning to pay for the map plan and the attorney?
So the map plan report and attorney, oh, thank you so much, are part of the town budget, incorporated the cost of the map plan and report.
Well, there's $20,000 in the budget line.
The budget line was supposed to have been $80 some odd thousand. That was what was requested by Leo, and that came directly from our.
But in order to stay under the cap, $20,000 is what's in there today.
Well, so $20,000 is in there today, and then we will receive $14,000 from the engineering planning grant. So that will be $34,000. I think that's almost the cost of the two, or close to it. I'm surprised to hear that the budget line changed, because the draft budget.
It didn't change. That's what it was when. when we voted on it.
No, it's what was requested, but, you know, then these things get cut without an idea of how to pay for things that we know the prices of. So it's just the way it works.
Well, again, there's 20,000 and another 14,000 makes 34,000. I have to go back and see the exact cost of the oh, 1 second. Oh, the allergies.
Charlie, while you're looking that up, can I just maybe try to summarize the technical plan in plain English, so maybe it makes a little sense. So the STEP system involves using folks' existing septic tanks, correct?
If it is a newer tank and after inspection it can be reused, yes, their current tank would be reused and they would receive a credit for the use of that.
Okay, and if it's a cesspool or if it's not in adequate state, then we would go, the wastewater district would then go install a new tank in
Yes.
their backyard or wherever generally they're in the back.
Yeah, surprisingly enough, a lot of them are in the front, depending upon the part of the hamlet that they're in. All of the homes on, I'm going to forget the street. Up Depot Hill, a lot of those actually have their septics in the front. So depending upon where they are, yes, but they would be replaced.
So then those tanks would be owned by the wastewater district, maintained?
Even the tank, very good question. Even the tank that you owned would be owned by the district. So the district is ultimately purchasing it. We would seek an easement so that, you know, from the tank, from the outside of your house, coming to the tank, and then going all the way to the treatment facility would all be owned by the district.
Okay, so that would be like 200 some odd easements that would have to be...
Yes, and that is all part of the opinion of probable costs in the feasibility study.
Okay. And by opting into the district, people would, I'm assuming, be willing to give that easement. It wouldn't be like a eminent domain situation or something, or...
So there's no opt-in to the district. So the district is formed by petition, and so the petition requires more than 50% of the assessed value of the residential owners to opt into it. If you said no, you know, if you didn't sign it, but the majority of your community members did, the district is forming your part of it.
But that's not the only way to form a district, right?
There's two ways to form the district. Article 12, which is, I'm not an attorney, by the way, so step in if I'm wrong. But what was that? Yeah, you surely can. I will say that there are, well, you can answer it, and then I'll have a follow-up.
Okay. My name's Bill Ryan. I'm the attorney.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. The microphone. My name's Bill Ryan. I'm the attorney. There's two ways to form special districts.
I'm sorry, you're the attorney from...
Tabner, Ryan, and Kennery.
Okay.
That was on the slideshow. The two ways to form sewer districts. Article 12 or Article 12A of the town law. Article 12 is by petition, where at least 50% of the typical one or two family homes have to sign, the owners have to sign the petition, as well as at least 50% of all other property owners. Second way, and that, if you do Article 12 by petition, there's no permissive referendum. If the town board elects to do Article 12A, you do it, it's town board initiated, and there is that is subject to permissive referendum.
Thanks. So just again to simplify the language, that there's two ways to basically form the district. We're pretty well versed on this just because we've looked at it as well, but there's effectively a public vote. You know, we would put it on the ballot for the public to go out and vote on it on election day. That would be one method. And the second method would be to circulate petitions to property owners in the proposed district, as Charlie was describing. And then if certain thresholds of, go ahead.
That's not necessarily true about the public vote under Article 12A. You can do that if you like, or you can adopt and create the district according to Article 12A, subject to permissive referendum.
Right.
And if there's enough citizens that come in and file a petition seeking the permissive referendum, then you have the public vote.
Yeah, what's the threshold again? It's based on the 5%? So those are both, I think, relatively well understood. I think what's not super clear to this board, and this is more a question for Charlie, is just, at what point was a decision made to proceed with the petition route? And if that recommendation was going to be made by the wastewater committee to this town board, I think that's probably something we should have discussed as a board and had some direction for the committee on that particular
Well,
point.
so the map plan and report is required under Article 12 or Article 12A. The wastewater committee has had a number of conversations and has voted to recommend Article 12 petition. I can get into the reasoning behind that if you want me to, or I can write that up and I can send it to you. But the
Is that in your
overview-
minutes?
I'm sorry?
Is that in your minutes?
Yes. Article 12 is the most inclusive approach to forming a district. You have to realize that if the town board passes a resolution, 5% of the people come in and say, no, we want a referendum, that the voting is not like, one house, one vote. It is the number of owners in that home. So if John, Sally, and their daughter Frankie owns the home, they get 3 votes. If you have someone who owns a home by themselves in their same name, and then they own a business also in their own name, they get 1 vote. Regardless if maybe their house is twice as big, or they have, it's a multifamily home, or their business is the largest business in town, they get 1 vote.
Yeah, I wouldn't characterize it as, one being more inclusive than the other. I mean, I would say differently that, at least in my conversations, and certainly given the history of the way these types of projects have been discussed by this town community in the past, typically has gone to a vote. I mean, the last 2 or 3 times we've attempted to do this, it has gone to a vote.
That's not true.
And
We put it on the referendum. We did not subject it to referendum. We just asked the question for the purchase of the Allen property. We did not do the submissive. We simply put it out there, and it was, we lost by 13
it's a handful of
votes.
votes, yeah.
Right.
Handful of votes. So, that's not
So we can
True.
pursue that strategy and kind of guarantee that we won't have a sewer district again.
No. Hold on. Before we go, again, that's like a characterization. There's 2 ways to do it. We can talk as a
It's been
group.
discussed a long time. on the
We
sewer
have
committee.
not.
No, we haven't.
We
yet,
have
Mr.
not discussed
Scott.
it
We
as a
haven't,
board.
yes.
And if the wastewater committee is out there proceeding down a path without sort of guidance or direction from the board, then that's challenging. But also, I think the public should know that if there is a plan to create this district, and as I'm sure you guys all know, like once you create a special district, it's notoriously difficult to get rid of it. But I just want to be clear that the public is aware of the proposed approach, and that we as a town board vote to authorize the committee to pursue one or the other.
Since I attended almost all of those public presentations, I can tell you that in each one of them, this was discussed.
It has not happened here.
It actually has.
Charlie, we as a town board.
Please, one person at a time. Don't interrupt. Leo, you'll have your chance to speak. Damien, go ahead and finish.
I'm just saying, we as a town board have not had this conversation, nor have we taken a vote to...
Let me be clear, again, the map plan and report is not the petition. The map plan and report has to be done regardless of the way the board decides that they want to move forward with forming the district, either by vote or by petition. Okay? By the way, and I want to also clarify that it's not residents, it is the 233 parcels. Those are the only people who would either sign a petition or who would ultimately vote in this regard. Okay, so we also, because that becomes confusing to people as well, because this is clearly the whole town of Amenia, all 4,000 of us, but it's really just this particular district and the parcel owners inside of it.
Understood. I think, yeah, I think that was, that's at least clear to me. So understanding the map plan and report is the next step here. If you guys have gone out and canvassed and asked folks to get a sense of a tally of like who may be willing to sign a petition for the formation of a district, I'd say that's probably getting the cart ahead of the horse a little bit if we, as the town board, have not given the committee any sort of guidance on how we would like to see that proceed.
Well, to be very clear.
Hold on a second, Charlie.
I'm sorry. I thought the pause was for a response.
Say again? Sorry?
He thought you stopped.
Okay. I've lost my train of thought now, thank you. The map plan and report as a next step, I think, is understood. It's based on as we've discussed in the last meeting, based on a parcel of land we don't yet own, which we are seeking to procure. And so, the decision over whether or not to expend money on that is certainly a conversation we can have as a board. But if there are representations being made by the committee when you guys are going door to door about any sort of, the process that would play out for the creation of the district, I think it's important that you guys get some guidance from the town board prior to doing that.
Are you finished? Should we hear from the lawyer and the engineer?
Yeah, I have other questions, but it might be better to ask the lawyer and engineer.
I'd like to just mention that we certainly did have a discussion about going forward with the map plan and report last fall when we put together this budget. So I clearly remember the negotiation and the request that Leo made over and over again on behalf of the wastewater committee that we fund this at $88,000, and we had to bring that down to balance the budget and keep the numbers under control. But it's not like this is brand new. We have support for it, but we don't have quite, I think, grants and that other, we can do a lot already. We've shown the importance of finding grants to help put $20,000 of our own cash. Will certainly leverage additional grant money from other
Vicki,
sources.
I'm not suggesting we have not had a discussion about the map plan and report. That's not what I'm suggesting
Okay,
at all.
what was the question?
I'm suggesting that we as a town board have not had a conversation about
Forming the
which
district.
method.
I see.
That's
I see.
Which method of forming
I
it?
see. Okay.
And we can have that conversation during the development of the map plan.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So if I can, I'm Richard LaBerge with LaBerge Group, and this is Ben Seiden with LaBerge Group. Supervisor, it's been a few years, but nice to see you again. I don't think I met any other board members.
No.
And it was very reminiscent to watch the town garage presentation. So in terms, you've done a lot of work on developing the wastewater feasibility. The study as to how, what the technical solution is and what the overall cost is, round numbers 20 million, which seems daunting when you do that. But what our job is, as part of preparing a map plan report, is to follow the process that's mandated by law, to present the facts and the information in the report that then this board uses to basically potentially establish a taxing district. So the very important information in there is all about costs. And most importantly, it's the user costs. Now this is where it gets a little integrated with the grants that we've been talking about. One of the things that Ben and I have been doing for 23 years together is integrating grants into engineering projects. The history of our firm for 59 years now is working with smaller communities who don't have a lot of resources, don't have a lot of staff to bring that together. And I was taught that an engineering plan without the financial plan is pretty useless, doesn't go too far. And we're in the business of getting things done, implementing and building things. So in the map plan and reports that we put together, we use our knowledge about grants, which Ben will tell you about in a second, to go through all the different potential funding sources that we, with our experience, know you would potentially qualify for. We're not going to go for pie in the sky things that aren't are not something that you would ever get. But there is a lot of money out there right now, and Bill was talked about, and NYWEA grants and all that. There is a lot of money for water and wastewater, and we are very busy. So the idea of taking that knowledge and integrating it into the map plan and report in such a way that shows all the different potential combinations of probable funding sources, and then this is the most important part, the user costs for each of those potential funding scenarios is what allows people to make a decision in the end as to the cost factor of a wastewater system. Real briefly, we read the report by Ty and Bond. It's very thorough. We have a working relationship with them as well. We are working on a project in Westchester County. We respect their work. We will go through that and just question things and make sure that we'll vet it to the extent that we can at the level of the map plan report. But I think the part that Ben really should talk about is how we integrate that, again, into the map plan report so you understand the different funding scenarios that could occur. Because, as was mentioned, you need the map plan report and the district formation to even consider getting grants these days. It is not 20 years ago in the water and wastewater business. If you don't have that, you are fairly dead in the water to get funding. So they have upped the game, so to speak. Everybody has to be a little more serious when you ask for grants. So, and I'll be brief. not like Charlie. No, just
Charlie promises 5 minutes in that presentation. A little bit longer, and that's okay. Good evening, Ben Siding with LaBerge Group. Many of you may have met with me before or heard some presentations down at the Association of Towns about funding public infrastructure, about how to turn a handout into a handshake, how to work with the funding agencies to become your partner in investing in your community, because the state's no longer an ATM. Now, as Rich has said before, there's a lot of money out there. And in any of my presentations, I go back to the 80s. I grew up on Long Island, so sometimes I speak a little bit quickly. But back in the 80s, you had a guy on TV wearing a green jacket with dollar signs everywhere. And he had a big book, and so I can get a grant for everything. Well, that guy's in jail now. So what we're trying to do is find out truly where and how to navigate the funding streams that are available at the state and federal level and bring it back to our communities. Rich had mentioned we've secured about $360 million since we've been together. Just last year, about 59.8. The vast majority of that, over 2/3, is in water and wastewater. Because what we do at LaBerge is we have a DNA process where we marry together engineering and grant writing, where engineers are very good at designing solutions and alternates to problems. Then grant writers can fund them, but together you have to make sure the right language is in the engineering report and in your map plan report. And what Richard mentioned before is, yes, we have money out there. The BIL, the intended use plan, the CWSRF, which is the Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund, they're all there to assist communities in reducing the cost to the end user. You have a lot going for you as far as your environmental justice grants or environmental justice designation, your disadvantaged community. These are not things you put on your press releases. You don't go door to door running for office saying we're a disadvantaged community. But the federal government and the state government have given you that designation, which now opens more doors to you. The White House has something called Justice 40, and that Justice 40 is providing additional funding and additional points for communities like you in this situation. So our role here is to not only take what you've done so far with the engineering report, but work hand in hand with the board. Because ultimately, you're creating a district, a taxing entity that Rich and Bill had mentioned. You're creating a taxing entity that's going to provide a public service under town law. So only 233 parcels will be the ones either voting for or part of a petition process, whichever you decide.
Decided that yet, but
I just said, whichever you decide. However you decide to go forward, those two options are on the table. But only those 233 parcels are the ones that are impacted, and only those 233 have a say in the district because they're the ones that will be paying for it. And by the way, reimbursing the town board through that district for the cost you bore. So that $20,000 you have so far, any money you spent before on the engineering report, those will get passed back on to that district because a town cannot, out of general revenue funds or general funds, pay for special districts. So those will get reimbursed to the town as you go forward. Timing of this. Well, a map plan report can take, like I said, 12 to 16 weeks was in our proposal. Grants are happening fast and furious. You're not going to be ready for the WIA grant that's due July 28th. Well, you'll be ready for next year. Rich had mentioned that you need a report to be considered. You can't even submit for a grant application for WIA without an engineering report. It's the first thing, check the box. You can't even do it. For USDA, if you're going to go for a loan or a grant, they need the map plan report. EFC, for financing on the intended use plan, you need a map plan and report. So in order to move forward on any option for funding, you have to do that next step. That being said, in your map plan report, you're going to have a funding matrix. In that funding matrix is going to give you each of the different programs and what that means to you if you secure those funds at that end user cost. You still have to look at the total $20 million up front without any cost, without any grants. That by law you have to say it's going to be 20, whatever the fee's going to be. And then you have the other alternatives. When we work with communities, we make it very clear, we ask the supervisor and the town board to make it clear that while we're creating a district, we're not going to move forward and in assuming any kind of debt on that or building anything without the financing being affordable to the users. We just did this in town of Skodak. They had a water project. They had a developer who abandoned his system, and the town wanted to take over and provide a new system. They can only apply for grants by doing a map plan report and creating the district. However, it was said that we're not going to move forward without the grants. We then secured money through WIA and through CDBG, and now they're building their project. But it's a process. It's a relationship between you, your public, and your consultants, whatever team you're working with. It is not a go give it to me kind of a process. It's interactive. It's us working directly with you as a board, you as a public, and the wastewater committee to find a solution, well, to your pollution.
Okay, your rhymes are done. We should have mentioned, I should have mentioned earlier that, and Bill's coming up, we work together with Bill Ryan on many projects with district, and again, seamlessly. So, Bill, would you?
Again, my name's Bill Ryan. I've been a practicing attorney for over 40 years, and I'm with the law firm of Tabner, Ryan, and Kenry. I've been doing special district work for most of those 40 years as an attorney, and I exchanged with the town board earlier the approaches that you take to create a district. I don't want to be repetitious. It's either Article 12 or 12A, depending on how you want to go. It's up to you. The map plan and report is statutorily required. It's also required that you have certain elements within the report, the maximum amount of the improvement, the cost to the typical property owner, and if it's the cost of the typical property owner is greater than what the controller authorizes on an annual basis, then you have to get approval from the Office of the State Controller to create the sewer district. And for 2023, the maximum annual cost for the typical 1 or 2 family home is $694. And in the feasibility study that I read in anticipation of this meeting, the cost to the typical property owner was around $1,100, if I recall. So in that situation, if those numbers remain the same, based upon the map plan and report that LaBerge Group prepares, then we're going to have to get approval for this district from the Office of the State Controller, which is arduous. It's a lot of fact-finding and assess values for the properties within the district, the level of indebtedness within the town, and I work closely with the supervisor and the town clerk in compiling this information and submitting it to the controller's office.
Can I just ask a question? And this might be for Charlie, but that $1,100 per household annual estimate, that was based on the 0% 30-year financing. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. What gets submitted for the comptroller, what's used there is without any funding, because we won't have any committed funding. So that's the number that is used for that calculation.
But it was based on getting like a 0% interest loan for 30 years, right?
But that's a good question, and the reason is you have to create the district first, and you have to, the controller requires that you create it and submit the application to them as if you're not going to get any funding. And 9 times out of 10, the funding comes in after district formation, because that's what the funding agencies want. And then the cost that is outlined for the typical property owner goes down. And Rich just mentioned the water district that we created in the town of Skodak. At the very beginning, we created the district, and the supervisor said, if we don't get grants for this, we're not going to do it because it was too cost prohibitive for the property owners, and it was all residential development. So the district was formed, Rich and Ben did their magic, and the cost to the typical property owner, as originally outlined within the map plan and report, was reduced because of all the grants they received. So it is a process, and you have to follow it incrementally. And it works.
Can I ask a question quickly? In your experience, have you seen wastewater and water districts combined? Meaning, as Charlie noted in the presentation, the vast majority of these parcels are also in our drinking water district. And would we be able to seek grant funding and, just general funding of this project if the district footprint was the same as the water district?
If the what?
The district footprint was the same as the current water district, not wastewater. Sorry, it's very confusing, but we have a drinking water district.
Yeah, you have a water district.
Yeah.
And the water district, Mr. Gutierrez, is different than the sewer district.
Well, the sewer district doesn't exist yet, so what I'm asking is...
I understand that, but they're two different animals is what I'm trying to convey to you.
So there's no, in your experience, you haven't seen both drinking and wastewater handled under the same special district?
Correct, I have not.
Okay.
Because
the reason, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the reason I ask is because the water drinking district has an incredible capital deficit. So that special district today is basically is broke, basically, and has a lot of deferred maintenance and a lot of capital needs and a tremendous backlog of things that need to be addressed. On top of that, we have the federal lead service line work that we have to do. So there's just a ton of work and money, and hopefully most of it's grant money, but there's a ton of effort that needs to go into addressing a backlog of work for the water district, which is, for the most part, the same as the proposed wastewater district. And I'm wondering if the comptroller's looking at any thresholds for household burden. Are they also looking at other burdens for other districts that household may be located within?
They would. That's a question that's asked. But there's a way to get around not a way to get around. The situation you describe, you can have a proceeding under the town law, section 202B, where you can go through an engineering study, all the work that needs to be done, and if you need to make capital improvements or the equipment is old and antiquated, you can undertake a 202B proceeding and issue bonds to pay the work that needs to be done. And also, you can use the mechanism of obtaining grants to alleviate the cost associated with that type of work that you just mentioned. What you describe to me, without knowing the full background, is you need capital improvements to this water district, and the way to do that would be under a 202B proceeding, and you would be able, I suspect, to get granting for that as well. But to have the water and the sewer commingle, the answer is no. And I want to address one other question that you mentioned, if you don't mind. During the back and forth with Mr. Miller, there was a passing reference that once a district's formed, you can't get rid of it. That there are procedures within Article 12 and 12A to dissolve.
I just said it was difficult.
I
just said it was difficult to get rid of it.
I just want to clarify the record, that's all. There are mechanisms within Article 12 and 12A to dissolve districts after they're formed, and also I'll just call your attention to Article 17A of the General Municipal Law that provides for consolidation and dissolution of various special districts and whatnot.
But all of that would have to be done through the Comptroller's office.
No.
Yeah, I think, didn't we just get rid of a special district?
Yes, when we worked
Yeah.
with the Comptroller's office, because they're
Couple
the
of years
ones
back.
that sent it to us. We had a district that, a hydrant district that was formed, Lord knows when.
Many years ago?
Yeah, that we, finally got off the books because it wasn't serving any purpose.
So, that's the story about me in part and what I've done. And like Rich said, I work very closely with his firm and other engineering firms, and I do this throughout the state of New York. So I'd welcome the opportunity to work with you and help your citizens with this issue. Any questions?
Is there a way to do, like if we don't have all of the funding in place, we've just found $34,000 to start the map plan and report, as I understand, is it possible to start and, get as far as we can? And assume that we'll get the balance of the funding in the fall for the balance of this, or get some grants to help? Is it is something we can start with what we have?
I would think the answer to that is yes.
Okay.
From reading the engineering, the feasibility study, I think there's a problem there with the effluent. And delay, in my mind and in my experience, is more costly in the future.
Thanks. Very quickly, Ian, you had a question about bonding before even moving forward with this phase, so maybe you can relay that.
Yeah, well, the bonding really doesn't come into play until the end.
Sorry, just to interrupt. Ian's concern previously was about bond counsel, not actually bonding. But
Well,
go ahead, Ian.
I can sort of weave that into one answer. Bonding comes at the end, and I don't do bonding. Fools rush in where angels fear to tread, and it, well, I use ORIC out of
So do we,
ORIC out of New York City.
but
and-
we're not even thinking about bonding this project
Well,
at this point.
Well, to answer the question fully, ma'am, I use Douglas Goodfriend from ORIC. I use him exclusively when I do special district work, and I also represent a lot of school districts in upstate New York.
Yeah,
and
Douglas and I go way back. and
so do we.
With the town.
So do I. So, yeah, to answer your question, Ian,
Now I feel left out because I don't know the guy.
he's a great guy.
Good guy.
He literally wrote the book on bonding in Bear City.
He's the guy.
If I can,
He's the
He's
guy.
done the
It
bonding
was my
for
suggestion,
anything,
that-
any borrowing we've done.
before we go down this road, that we bring bond counsel in, even at this early stage, just to make sure that all our resolutions are in play, the proper wording is in each of our resolutions, because if there's going to be bonding on this, which Charlie indicated there was not going to be any bonding on this, I'm still not sure on the funding of all of that, but I've worked with Goodfriend before many times as well, and he's always in. We involve him right away, and so it's just the working relationship
Yeah.
that we have. So that was my suggestion. It was my encouragement to do that. But-
And there's no point,
There's no what, Victoria?
no point bringing him in at this point.
Okay, any questions for me?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was really helpful and informative.
Sure.
I just wanted to address, there was an issue about the land and the timing of that. That question was just, I guess, presented to us maybe from the last meeting. Generally, our philosophy is to keep the map plan report and districting process to a minimum. you have a feasibility study that has accounted for a land cost. However, the project is dependent upon that piece of land. We would recommend that concurrent with the map planner report, you move ahead with a contract for potential purchase of that land to set it up for, to know that your cost is what it is, provided that the land proves out to be useful for what everybody intends. To my knowledge, I don't believe all the environmental studies have been done on it, things like that. So a developer would call it an option, but really it's a contract for the purchase of the land, contingent upon going through certain environmental testing and adequacy of that land that you would consummate probably a year to 18 months from the time of signing that, because it's going to take that long to line up the funding. So there'll be a lot of details depending on what the property owner would want, and et cetera. And Ben tapped me, so I'm going to say thank you very much for having us, and we think we can help, and I'll say goodnight. Ben?
Thank you.
Thank you. You mentioned 18 months. I often let people know it's probably a 2-year process on grants. You're both correct when it comes to bonding. I know it sounds kind of, yeah, is a yes, no, it's yes and yes. You don't need bond counsel today. You're not bonding today. At some point, you will need bond counsel and a bond resolution to go with applications. So if you move forward with the project, you do map plan report, and you decide however you create the district you want, and you win grants and you're ready to go forward for, let's say, a NYWIA, a New York Water Infrastructure Improvement Act, they require a bond resolution to make the application. It's like filling out a credit card and putting it in a safe deposit box. You don't use it, it never gets used, but you need to have a resolution at that time to apply. So when you start moving forward next year, if you move forward, it'll be a year from now, you'll need to have a bond resolution at that time. If you went USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, on their programming, you'll need a bond resolution at that time. If you went and got a grant through the CWS, or the Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund, and you sign at the back that you're making an application for the build grant and the 0% hardship because you're a disadvantaged community, they'll have to do a bond council resolution to get state revolving loan funds. So at that point, you'll need it. You don't need it yet. It's good to contact them, make sure that, hey, this is the path we're going down. We don't need your services yet, but at some point, just so you know, we'll be reaching out in a year, 18 months, just so we're all on the same page. At some point, all public works, even with grants, has to do a bond resolution, take out a ban, and pay it off with a grant. So that's kind of how the process of funding. We can talk about that over a long time. You're not there yet, but that's part of the process of developing what we call a funding quilt, pulling together different pieces of the grant programs and the loan programs, leverage them to make that. And I say this, we have been together almost 24 years. I wish I trademarked that back in 1999.
Where on Long Island are you from?
Port Jeff. Well, Port Jeff Station, but no one knows who that is.
Well, I've slowed them down a lot.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good night.
So any questions you have for us?
Not so far. Thank you.
Sure. If you do, I'll be happy to answer them as we go on.
Thank you.
All right. And congratulations to both of you for your certifications. It's well deserved.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we've already done the Water District Building Report,
before we-
Highway Department.
Before we move on, I had a couple questions for Chris.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, in the engineering report, and you brought something to light tonight I didn't think about. Silo Ridge's system is dumping into which we refer to as the Amenia stream. And putting this system on the same stream, for example, where it's effluent, I didn't see anything that sort of gave a measure of the stream's ability to take more or what it's already taking, especially with effluent like ammonia. I don't know that, I didn't see that in the engineering report. That was one thing. Another thing I didn't see is that some of these pump stations are located in wetlands. And I'm not sure that that was addressed in the timing and the cost it would take to get those pumping stations approved. And on a different subject, I had a question about the $14,000 engineering planning grant, and when would that be received?
So the clean water that is discharged into Amenia Stream doesn't have ammonia. It is clean water. It is drinkable water that goes into the stream. About the amount of flow, I don't have an answer to that. That would be part of, I would imagine, the map plan and report process, as well as...
I almost made it out the door. I would say this, the engineering report spoke to the ability of proposed treatment systems to be able to meet the creek. I think part of our due diligence in the map plan report, that would be one of the items we'd want to talk with Region 3, DEC Region 3, to have a little more discussion on that. Erin Moore, I would probably contact her again to just discuss how far she went with that, because that is a cost factor. And again, if you form a district with a maximum cost and you have to exceed it, you got to go back through about 60% of the process. And actually that happened a lot in the last few years with cost increases. So that would be, those types of things we would try to run down not every technical detail, but we'll call the things that would have impact on cost. And the effluent limits are one of them. And and I personally, as an engineer, would just want to have a conversation with DEC to see what they thought.
Wait, so if I didn't see it addressed though in the report.
I read something about, they showed proposed limits and the treatment efficiency of the particular MN or MBBR.
Why would there be
Why
would there be a concern about the effluent in the stream if what comes out is
I don't know
drinking
if I would
water?
drink it, but it is, wastewater effluent is cleaned up pretty good these days, and it's always cleaned up to the receiving water. DEC has categorized all the receiving waters. I don't remember what class stream that is, or if it's a trout or trout spawning stream, I'm not sure, but those types of things affect the amount of pollutants that you're able to put into any body of water. Your issue about, it's an upstream discharge into that same creek, or downstream?
Downstream.
Depending on its proximity, and I don't know where that discharge is, it could be a factor for DEC to take into account, or it may not. But again, that's something I assume the tie-in bond looked into, if they knew about it, and I think they did, but it's one of those things you have to check out. There is a little bit of work to be done on those types of items. Again, a map plan report doesn't design this. We're using their sewer feasibility, and we'll do some due diligence to check things and confirm the recommendation. And if we have to adjust the cost a little bit for some reason, we would. So, good question, but I don't have the answer tonight.
There's like 12 people here. I feel like we should need to let them do their reports and get on with their nights.
Great,
thank you so much. But I also don't want to stop conversation here on this matter or anything. So
I'll rest for now.
I just think that there are a lot of questions. We have a lot of it, and I'm thinking maybe we should schedule another. I don't know. I mean, do we need a public hearing, or do we need?
For what purpose, Damien? I'm a little confused.
Just to continue our discussion, as we can do it now, but we have other committees to.
Yes, we do. Well, maybe when they're done, we can talk further about how to handle it.
Great. I guess Water District is up next. Yeah?
No, the Water District, didn't the Water District?
No, it would be
get covered?
Highway Department.
No, it's
Megan, do you have a report? She already read the Water District
Building Department and the Water report were already read.
no,
She already
sorry.
read them.
We met as a committee. I was going to give an update on that, but we met on Monday. We have a chair now. Hooray, Katie. They're going to be organizing and meeting again soon, and
Great.
I'll leave it at that.
I got the excuse just for one moment.
You don't have to ask permission. You don't have to ask permission.
Go ahead, Megan.
Okay, so I will be quick. We've been busy up on Tower Hill. We've done some grading. We've added some material. We've made existing cutoffs for runoff wider and added trap rock to slow down any runoff. And we've cut some unsafe trees up there also. Today we started doing our mowing. Back in 2021, we had Storm Ida. We had 4 different locations on Tower Hill that had some damage. Judy and I have been working with FEMA, which seems like forever now, but we just received reimbursement for 3 out of the 4 locations, an amount of $57,984. Wassaic, Lee's Trees came, he stump grinded the stump next to the flagpole. I went down with the excavator and I took the stump out for the Christmas tree, so it's, if you guys decide to put anything back there, it's gone out of the way. And last I received an update on the replacement pole, the light pole. They gave me approximately around July 28th for a ship date. So we might see a little earlier maybe than what they were predicting. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Recreation.
And sorry to keep you all waiting so long.
So I'm Katie, the Recreation Director. Just a few things. So this Saturday, May 20th, at Maple Brook School, we'll be hosting an awareness walk for anyone over the age of 55. So registration starts at 9:30. It's $5, and then the walk starts at 10. Next Thursday, the 25th at 1 p.m., we're going to do an adult puzzle day at Amenia Library. The puzzles and refreshments will be provided. And then we are starting a Mexican folklore dance class on June 5th at 6 p.m. here at Town Hall. It's going to be a 4-week course. It's $20 each class, or $70 for the whole 4 weeks. The Tai Chi class that we did have will be ending the end of May. Amenia Seniors Free Picnic is Saturday, July 29th at 12 p.m. Reservations are required for that. There are only 80 seats available. So to reserve your spot, you can call me at 845-373-8118 at extension 124, or you can go to our website, which is ameniany.myrec.com. And then our summer music series kicks off on July 10th at 6 p.m. here at the Town Hall, right outside on the field. We'll be kicking off with 5-day nights at that. And then summer camp. So I have not been able to hire anybody for summer camp. I'm still trying, but a decision is going to be made in the next couple weeks whether we're going to hold summer camp or not. I can't hold it if I don't have any staff to have summer camp. But with that, I'm trying to plan other things that we could be doing. So I started speaking with the library, seeing how we can work with them and maybe get some programs for that. Some days where we were doing things where there was going to be summer camp here, just so there's something going on in that time frame. But other than that, that's all I have.
Katie, can you tell the folks in TV land who you're looking for, who you're looking to hire?
Yep, so I'm just looking for counselors at this point. They have to be 16 or older.
16 or older, and it's a paid position. It's not a...
It's a paid position. It pays $15 an hour. All the applications are on our website, ameniany.myrec.com. The dates of camp are August 7th to August 25th. Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and guess there's not a lot of 16-year-olds watching us on public access right now.
Maybe their parents. We can only hope.
If your parents are watching, grab them by the ear and ask them to apply, please.
I do have somebody for an EMT lined up. So there is that already secured. It's just getting counselors. I need 1 counselor for every 12 kids that sign up for camp.
Come on.
Anything else? Good. Cool.
Thank you.
I'm going to turn over to Josh now.
Hello, I'm Josh Simpson. You might remember pointing me to the rec board. I'm here tonight on behalf of some Wassaic soccer players here that have been playing for how long? Over a year. with small pop-up goals. And so communicating with them and the rec board, we are asking for, to get them regular goals that are not regulation size, but they're 6.5 by 9, is that right? 6.5 by 12. And these will be goals that will be anchored into the ground to prevent theft or tip over dangers. And they will be set up for them to play their pickup game, which happens once or twice a week. And also going beyond a pop-up goal will give the ability for the program to grow, larger teams. So we're asking for no more than $3,600 from the capital fund to
You
purchase
have
these.
3 bids?
I do.
Okay,
I
so you
emailed
just
them.
need to send them to us?
Okay, I emailed them earlier today. One of them is not completely the same. It's one goal, but the one goal costs more than our 2 goals. And
Okay.
then the other one is similarly over.
So you have 2 quotes?
3 quotes for goals.
3
And then
quotes for
the,
goals?
The anchors are somewhat specialized. I guess a lot of soccer communities like to have a movable goal, so this drill into the ground and lock it thing is more rare, but so I can only find one place to.
So are you recommending one quote over the other?
Yes.
Okay, is that in the email you sent?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can follow up and make it more clear, but it's
Okay.
PIVO is the name of the goal, and then the anchors are from.
Yeah, I'll forward that to the town attorney and then,
Okay.
Thank you.
so that we can approve it.
Great. Anything else on that?
I think it's great that it's, Wassaic Park is being used for soccer. I'm very excited about that.
Why are we not getting regulation size? Is Joe not tall enough?
Joe will just destroy everyone because he has a good shot and the goals will be too big. Usually these are pickup games with no goalie.
Fair enough.
If I can speak about that for a second.
Please.
The mic.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joe. I'm not the captain. I'm just the person closest to the lectern currently. But we've decided to go with non-regulation size goals because given the scope of the amount of players we usually have and the ceiling on the amount of players we usually see, it frankly wouldn't be that fun to be playing on a giant goal. As part of this process, we would also like to implement a like official town league of some sort, not like a league, but a regular pickup schedule. So it's not just like you're buying a goal for our group of friends. We're willing to put in the work to host something equivalent to the volleyball night. Just there's soccer over in Wassaic Park at a consistent rate, and these size goals would facilitate a good game for like 8v8 sides, which I think would be a good goal to try to search for.
So many puns tonight. My
Yeah, I
goodness.
didn't even mean to. I had to. I tried to build the sentence
Katie,
around using the word goal.
I think we can. I remember from the MyRec demo, so the software demo a million years ago. Like people could book facilities on the website. I don't really know how it all works, but could we maybe, if you guys have a regular game, could we advertise it or how?
But then it comes into like insurance factors. So then that's something they might.
Microphone.
Sorry.
So it would come into an insurance factor and liabilities on that because they wouldn't have like their own insurance and then you'd have to go through like
Right.
the whole proper recreation program to build it and have the insurance for
Got it. Okay, makes sense.
So is there any reason why this soccer group can't be part of a recreation commission sanction?
Yeah, but then we would just have to figure out like insurance and liability through that. So it's not necessarily just something that they can go and like play when the goals are there, but if they want to make it a recreation, like sealed recreation thing, then we have to go through the whole process of insurance and whatnot.
Okay.
Cool.
So we'll just put all the information, make sure the town attorney has the information, and then we'll we can do a resolution to authorize the funding.
Great. And that'll be next meeting or?
Do the cell tower fund.
Yeah, capital fund, yeah.
Well, you wanted to use the cell tower fund, right?
Correct.
Okay,
And that would be, the resolution would be next meeting, is that right?
yes.
Or, okay. All right, great. Yeah, we're trying to get them goals before the summer's over. if possible.
Well, the way the weather's been, summer didn't make it here yet, or even spring. Okay, is there any other recreation business?
Just the planning board. The last meeting was canceled because they didn't have a quorum. And so I was told by Judy that there are 6 items on the next agenda, so it's going to be a long meeting.
Any other committee reports?
Quickly. Sorry, hi, Charlie Miller, Housing Board. I emailed earlier, but the Foundation for Community Health approved our grant application for $15,000 to go to the rehabilitation of the Lake Amenia Road house. That is a lump sum funds that we will get, and the paperwork should come within the next couple of weeks. So thank you, guys. Like the soccer team just left, like all the cool kids left, and now we're here.
Congrats on
The average age just like skyrocketed.
Do we have a building department report?
I read it.
We already did that. Other committee reports?
Yes,
Enhancement.
so the CAC met last night here at the town board meeting room at 7 o'clock, and we went over the proposed Troutbeck, it's called the adaptive reuse plan that they have for Troutbeck Conference Center and the hotel and the cabins, and the expansion that they hope to do that also included 50%, over 50% conservation easement as that plan would require. And we went over in depth all of the environmental concerns and issues that range from visual impact to habitat for endangered and threatened species, the water quality, the water supply. You know, all of these items have been brought up and studied and are in a lengthy report called the EAF. And we focused on that and took a look at it, and we are compiling the CAC's recommendations into a report that we'll provide to the planning board. We also met with the comprehensive plan committee, comprehensive plan review, and that was on Tuesday upstairs in the planning board room at 6 o'clock p.m. They are meeting every other Tuesday at 6 o'clock, and I guess June 6th is our next one. And they went over some of the items that they are working towards, and we applied for a grant, and part of that is in a resolution in order to help the comprehensive plan review committee actually have some technical expertise to help rewrite sections that are kind of beyond volunteers' ability and scope of skill sets. We do have Nina Peak on our committee, and she is a certified planner and very competent, but to ask her to volunteer her time and then rewrite whole sections of our law seemed above and beyond. So we hope that we will get that grant from the Greenway Conservancy. That's all I have.
Are there any other committee reports?
Yeah, I just received an update for the enhancement committee from Margie O'Brien. So the beds were prepared on Wednesday for Fountain Square for planting, and this Saturday, starting at 8:30 a.m. is the planting. Hopefully we don't get any more frost. Also,
You'll be getting some rain, maybe.
Yeah. Next Wednesday, May 24th, is a proposed date suggested for an open meeting to discuss the raised bed in Wasake. So that's the latest update.
What day was that?
It hasn't been finalized yet, but the 24th.
Is that going to give them enough time to let people know about it?
Pretty quick.
It is pretty quick. Okay.
Well, we can advertise it.
I'm sorry?
Will that meeting be here?
It hasn't been finalized yet, that meeting. And
But when it
doesn't
has
mention-
been, will you send the
actually,
information?
actually, they mentioned they're looking for a place to hold it, so potentially here.
Okay.
We'll have to get more information on
Get
that.
more information.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we have
Well,
space
make
for
sure you send the information to Mike so he can put it on Channel 22.
Okay.
You can't, she has all the keys, so he can just always use that as a backup.
Permission to read the resolutions?
Certainly. Resolution number?
We're starting with 62 this evening.
62. Do you want to go through these documents before we do this?
Well, you've had plenty of time to read them.
Okay, just.
Oh, those documents.
Say
Make the
again?
motion, do the resolution first, second, and then you can have discussion, or
Okay, that sounds
want to
good.
discuss it now?
Resolution number 62 of 2023, adopting revised Town of Amenia Employee Handbook. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Amenia is desirous of maintaining an up-to-date employee handbook which details current and accurate personnel policies and procedures, employee benefits, compliance policies, and other pertinent information governing employee-related matters. And whereas the Town Board has retained Public Sector HR Consultants LLC, the consultant, to prepare a revised and updated version of the Town Employees Handbook that accomplishes the foregoing objectives, and whereas the Town Board by Resolution 28 of 2021 adopted a revised version of the Town Employee Handbook, and whereas the consultant has suggested further updates to the town's employee handbook to accommodate the New York State cannabis law enacted on March 31st, 2021 to update the town's sexual harassment policy, to amend the definition of a part-time employee, and to amend holiday pay and bereavement leave for part-time employees. And whereas the Town Board has reviewed the draft versions of updated and revised employee handbook, which is annexed here too and made a part hereof, and has made determinations as to appropriate content. Now therefore be it resolved as follows: the recitations set forth are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. 2, the Town Board of the Town of Amenia hereby adopts the attached revised version of the town's employee handbook as the official employee handbook of the Town of Amenia. 3, that the newly updated and revised Town of Amenia Employee Handbook shall be distributed with signed acknowledgement to all town officials and employees. I'll make that motion.
Second.
And I have some questions now that it's seconded. I went back to the reorg meeting to actually see how many employees are full-time and part-time. And as far as I could tell, there are only 2 full-time employees according to the new definition of 40 hours.
Actually, all the highway department.
Oh, because that was
employees.
listed differently in the, okay, and the
They're all
highway department.
full-time.
Okay,
40 hours.
great. And do they have their own, that's a union contract, is that different in terms of the salary? I mean, not the salary, but the benefits?
No.
It's the same benefits, okay.
Actually, whatever is in the union contract falls back on the employee handbook.
Okay.
And benefits is part of that.
Okay. So I appreciate the fact that Victoria caught the fact that in the previous version of the handbook, it had it had 40 hours or more or 20 hours or less, but there was this sort of weird gap in the middle where people who worked between 40 and 20 weren't classified, which was kind of strange. In any event, we actually have 9 employees in that category of being between 40 and 20. My understanding is that the practice, even though it said 40 hours, that the practice, while this was unclear, was that the employees that were working 32 hours were getting the benefits of a full-time employee. Is that correct?
Not all the employees are. Currently, the 32-hour employees get the benefits of part-time, with not benefits meeting the accruals.
The accruals.
Doesn't have anything to do with medical.
Okay.
Or dental, or whatever ones they have.
So you're saying that the employees who work 32 hours were already being treated as part-time employees in terms of their benefits other than medical.
Right.
Okay. So there are only 2 employees that are at that 30 to 32 hour level, and and then it kind of drops off from there. But when that is a total of 11 employees that are hourly, 2 full-time, 9 part-time, but there are hourly employees where the hours aren't specified, and that's mostly the road crew and the constables, which makes sense. I sort of would understand why.
What road crew? They're 40 hours.
Oh, it just isn't mentioned in the, it's not mentioned in the handbook wasn't clear about how much they were working. So then there are an additional.
They are full-time.
Okay, and the constables?
The constables are per diem.
Okay, so they're not, so is that part-time then?
Yes.
Okay.
They're hourly, I think, right?
Yeah, they're
But
pretty
they're
much hourly.
Right, and I understand.
Whatever hours they work.
Right, because I understand their hours change. But then the other thing is that there were 10, as I went back through our reorg meeting, there are 10 salaried employees, and as far as I could tell, the handbook makes no mention of that category. So I wasn't sure whether salaried employees were considered full-time or part-time.
No, they're not full-time.
Okay, so those are all part-time?
Yes.
Okay, it would be good if.
None of them are getting benefits. either.
Okay, well, again, it would just be great if that was clarified in the handbook as well, because right now it isn't. It isn't clear about how they're, what they're considered, and that just seems an oversight to me. And if you're saying that the employees, of which there are just 2 that were working 32 hours, were already treated as part-time.
Well, they are now. They are now. They are.
Well, that was my point. I asked if they were before, because if they were treated as full-time employees before, it seems sort of strange that if they've been working that number of hours for a number of years and they were treated as full-time employees, then I'm not entirely clear why for 2 employees you would change them from full-time to part-time.
Well, they were both not considered full-time.
They were not considered full-time, but they were receiving full-time benefits?
No, they were accruals. We're talking about accruals versus benefits.
Okay, so we're talking
Sick
about, in
days.
other words, holidays and sick days and all
Right.
that stuff. Okay, so we're saying in the past that they did get the accruals of full-time workers.
Yes, that was a mistake on my part.
Okay, but it's been a long time, isn't it, that they've been receiving that?
Well,
it just seems to me if that's been going on for a
no,
long
it was
time.
changed back to what it should have been at part-time a while ago. I don't have the exact date.
Okay.
But that's, but 40 hours is considered full-time, and they're the ones that get the 40-hour accruals.
Okay, so it's just those 2 people at this point? Just 2 full-time employees receive that?
Yes.
Okay.
In the town hall, there are 5 employees that receive it in the highway department.
The highway crew, right.
But there's 7 altogether.
Okay, thank you. Okay, just wanted to make sure that there wasn't a status change from what had been going on for a while. Okay, well, that was my questions about that before we vote.
Given that we're talking about such a small number of people in such a small town, do we want to have this conversation in executive session?
No,
No?
I don't think so.
Depends how further the board wants to discuss it. If they want to discuss it further and get into more details about particular positions, then I would advise going into executive session. But at this point, if the questions are done, then
Then we should finish the vote.
Okay.
I'll just ask a technical question. Is there, if somebody was getting the accrued benefits, not the medical, is there any way to grandfather them in to continue that status, but change it for anybody new coming in? It's just a technical question. Is it possible to grant somebody, I understand when I joined my current employment, I was grandfathered in. Some of the benefits that I received are no longer being offered to my colleagues who are coming in after me. So I am grandfathered in to receive X, Y, and Z benefits. So I just wondered if it was possible for those employees who may have at one time received that, I guess now that they don't and haven't for some years, let's say 5 years, I don't know, is it possible to grandfather them into and restore that status that they had enjoyed?
So when you get hired, you get hired under the employee handbook that's currently in existence. It would be a board decision whether or not they wanted to change any of that going forward.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
For everyone?
I just asked you to repeat.
So when you're hired, the policies that are in place, that's how you're hired. So you do the resolutions, you indicate they're hired, their start rate, their date, their pay rate, their classification, whatever it may be. And your employee handbook, that's what will guide your benefits. You're asking,
Going forward, even if that employee handbook is updated and changes the nature of your benefit package.
Well,
Do you follow me?
if the employee handbook has always said full-time employee is 40 hours, then it's full-time employee is 40 hours.
Well, not if when they were hired, they were told they were considered full-time and got certain benefits. That's what I just want to be clear, that it's not, we're not kind of doing this to.
No, all right.
Rephrase.
What?
He's gonna,
No.
I asked him, does that mean I get my 2006 handbook, or do I get the one you're talking about today?
Your handbook, when you're hired, that's what you get hired as. If the amendment is happening again later on, then the new handbook would apply. You don't. That's how that would work.
I would recommend we speak about this in executive session, since this is not, hopefully not tonight, but that would be
Well,
my,
I've
just,
had my question answered, so I don't need
you're good.
further clarification.
I don't think anybody else does either.
I think it's a good subject for executive session.
Well, we
Brad,
can't go into executive session in the middle of a vote, can we?
No, we could table this.
Yeah, you can withdraw the motion, table it, and go into an executive session to discuss it. And again, if we're starting to get into more very specific issues, then I think that would be an appropriate motion to make.
Okay, can we move on to the Greenway grant resolution then?
So
Damien,
that's,
So wait, hold
I
on,
need
yeah,
to
are
know
we
what Damien's doing.
but I'm moved to table it.
Okay.
So you're rescinding and tabling.
Do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second that.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Fablelard?
Yes.
All right, are we still on 62, or that was 62?
3, now you're going to go to 63.
And we're doing the grant application, right?
Yes.
Lead and copper inventory.
No, we're not. It's tabled too.
Oh.
We
okay.
don't have the grant
Oh, because
money
we still
yet.
don't have the money. Okay, got it.
Yeah, we're kind of
We'll come right back.
between a rock and a hard place right now, as the time is moving on.
Okay, so resolution number 63 of 2023, authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Hudson River Valley Greenways Community Compact Planning Grant Program, whereas the town of Amenia is seeking to apply to the Hudson River Valley Greenway for a grant under the Hudson River Valley Greenway Planning Grant Program, HRVGP, for a project entitled Amenia's Comprehensive Plan Review Technical Assistance. And whereas the town is seeking a grant in the amount of $7,500 to retain a certified planner to assist with the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee in drafting updates to the town comprehensive plan. And whereas the HRVGP requires a 100% match from the town, which will be paid by in-kind services provided by members of the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee, with any remaining balance to be paid from the Planning Climate Smart Budget line number 80204.01.104. Now therefore be it resolved as follows: the recitation set forth above are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. 2, the Town Board of the Town of Amenia hereby does approve and endorse the application for a grant of $7,500 under the Hudson River Valley Greenway Planning Grant Program for a project known as Amenia's Comprehensive Plan Review Technical Assistance, to retain the certified planner to assist the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee in drafting updates to the Town Comprehensive Plan. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revlard?
Yes.
Resolution number 64. Never seen somebody's name in a resolution. This is exciting.
I know, it's special.
Who is that guy?
Resolution authorizing Councilperson Brad Rebelard to negotiate an agreement to purchase real estate for potential workforce housing. Whereas the Town of Amenia is seeking to purchase a particular parcel of land located within the Town of Amenia for potential workforce housing, and whereas the Town Board of the Town of Amenia would like to appoint Councilperson Brad Rebelard to negotiate the terms and conditions of the purchase, subject to review and approval by the Attorney of the Town and the Town Board of the Town of Amenia. Now therefore be it resolved as follows: the recitations set forth above are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. 2, the Town Board of the Town of Amenia hereby authorizes Councilperson Brad Rebelard to commence negotiations for a particular parcel of land within the Town of Amenia for potential workforce housing. 3, the terms and conditions negotiated will be subject to review and approval by the Attorney of the Town and the Town Board of the Town of Amenia. 4, the Town Supervisor is hereby authorized to execute all necessary documentation to effectuate the terms of this resolution. I'll make that motion.
Discussion?
In a second.
Just to be clear.
I'm sorry, I missed who seconded it.
Huh? I missed my opportunity?
No, I missed who seconded it.
I said
We don't need a second before discussion.
Second.
I'll
before-
second
Thank
before
you,
discussion.
Leo.
Leo, you're slowing down here, I swear.
You're so used to
I couldn't hear what you said. I thought you said second. You go
Anyway,
right ahead, Brett.
I just want to be clear, it's a non-paid consultant position, in case anybody needs to know that. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Clear. Supervisor Perotti?
No.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revlard?
I don't believe I can vote for myself, can I?
Abstain. You got the votes. You're good.
Abstain.
I can't believe Victoria didn't vote for you, but whatever, we'll get to that.
Okay, next is the disposal of the batting cage.
No. Transfer of funds, I'll do that one.
Okay.
Transfer of funds for May 2023, whereas the Town Board has the authority to transfer funds when necessary and anticipated to amend the budget, whereas budget amendment in the general fund, increasing revenue line 2260.01, public safety services by $365.41, and increasing expense line 31204.01, public safety commercial services by $365.41 for Dutchess County Sheriff Services for Congregation Beth David. Whereas the budget amendment in the general fund, increasing expense line 71104.01, Amenia Park CE by $450, and decreasing expense line 19004.01.049, special item CE contingencies by $450 for Beekman Park septic costs. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund, increasing revenue line 4089.01 federal aid other by $27,355, and increasing revenue line 9911901 interfund transfer by $27,355 for transfer from American Rescue Fund to Water Fund for SCBI Wells Project Phase 1. Whereas budget amendment in the Water Fund, increasing revenue line 5031.06 interfund transfer by $27,355, and increasing expense line 83404.06 transmission distribution by $20,355 for Water Wells Project Phase 1. Whereas budget amendment in the Water Fund, increasing 5031.06 interfund transfer by $3,000, increasing expense line 83404.06 transmission distribution by $3,000 for Water Wells environmental report. Whereas budget amendment in the Highway Fund, increasing revenue line 3960.03, state disaster aid by $57,984, and increasing revenue line, it's $5,098.40, and increasing revenue line 4960.03, federal disaster aid by $52,185.60, and increasing expense line 51104.03, general repair CE by $57,984 for FEMA funds received for Hurricane Ida. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board authorizes a transfer of necessary budget lines to process the transactions. And I make that motion.
I'll second that, but I have a question.
Yes.
Victoria, the $54,710, that's the $355 twice. What part of the Wells Project Phase 1 is that paying? Is that the testing? What does that money represent?
That's the testing.
The testing, okay. Thank you.
Good. Supervisor Brody?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revelard?
Yes.
Now, other matters. We have another resolution authorizing the disposal of the batting cage at Beekman Park.
66?
Yes. Do you want to do that one?
Sure. Resolution number 66 of 2023, authorizing disposal of batting cage at Beekman Park. Whereas the town of Amenia is in possession of an old batting cage at Beekman Park that is being replaced by a new batting cage, which was donated to the town, and whereas the old batting cage consists of 4 sections of batting cage framing with 2-inch round 13-gauge galvanized steel powder-coated black tubing. And whereas the town board of the town of Amenia would like to declare the old batting cage as surplus equipment and dispose of it in a proper and safe manner, now therefore be it resolved as follows. The recitations set forth are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. 2, that the town board of the town of Amenia hereby declares the aforementioned batting cage at Beekman Park to be surplus equipment and authorizes the disposal of said batting cage in a proper and safe manner. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Oh.
Supervisor Brody?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revelard?
Yes.
Now, under other matters, we need to, I make a motion to authorize the town clerk to advertise for a 14-hour part-time building department clerk.
Second.
Supervisor Brody?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revelard?
Yes.
And we need to set up a special meeting next week to award the bid for the Tower Hill paving. When is the bid coming in for that?
So, quick, I was going to bring up other matters. We still have Megan here. This afternoon, Megan, myself, and John Andrews had the bid opening. Mr. Andrews was given copies, as well as the attorney, of all of the submissions that were received. We did receive 4 of them today. Those numbers will all be presented by Mr. Andrews in his report. I was not presenting it at the board tonight because I know he wanted to have the opportunity to review, but I also do have the knowledge that the attorney would like to have conversations with you, and he'll further
Yeah, I would
request
like
the
to have
executive
a
session.
brief discussion in executive session on the bid.
When?
But we're not going to, but
Do it right now if you like.
Yeah.
There's actually, we could do the executive session for the 2 matters. The first was the,
Okay.
Quick.
okay, but don't we have to have a special meeting to choose one of the bids? Yes or no?
Yes. Yeah, there's going to be a special meeting
I
to
know,
award the
but
bid.
we need to
Yep.
decide when that is going to be. Because we also, the other thing we would have to do is, we have to do a resolution for the grant that Charlie applied for, the EFC grant.
You mean to
Because
accept
they,
it?
and he has to, you have to, that is due to be sent in by May 31st, according to the email I got. So what day works for all of you for next week?
Thursday is a possibility. Thursday, May 25th for me. Monday is not good for me. The 22nd.
Wow.
I could do Tuesday.
I might be able to do the 25th.
Yeah, I can't do that. But next week looks kind of awful. I guess I could skip the planning board meeting on the 24th, Wednesday.
That's also the raised park meeting potentially.
I'm sorry, what was that?
It's also the raised park meeting.
Enhancement.
Oh, right.
So
that's not
Tuesday's
good.
open for me, but
What about the rest of you?
So
Tuesday?
if I can
Tuesday
just
the
weigh in
25th.
here for a moment, we are still waiting from the engineer to provide his recommendation on the bids that were opened and received. So that letter, I'm anticipating.
So it would be like Thursday or Friday?
Yeah, Thursday or Friday would be the days.
Would Thursday
Nobody
or
likes
Friday
Friday,
work
but
for
Thursday
either-
would
any
be
of you?
best.
I'm not here on Wednesday and I'm not here on Friday. So Thursday, I could do Tuesday, but I'd have to bring pickle.
Plenty of activities going on at the town
I don't
hall.
know that anything's going to be ready by Tuesday. From
So
what
Well,
you
that's-
know.
that's the difficulty.
Okay, Thursday. and we
Thursday
could
works for
Maybe.
me.
Can we
make
go
it-
earlier?
Yeah, we
It's
could
gonna
go
be-
earlier, and then you could
Yeah,
still do
Dawn
your
has a
planning board.
conflict at 7, so can we meet earlier?
5, noon, at Four
works.
Brothers Pizza.
Oh, I can't offer that.
I figured it'd have to be food related.
It's a public venue.
I mean,
So would 5 o'clock work?
What day, Thursday?
Thursday
the
next week,
25th.
5 o'clock, 5:30.
that'd be great.
Well, since the
Damien's bringing
enhancement
pizza.
committee hasn't actually set the time for that meeting.
That's
we'll
on
hope
Wednesday,
it's-
though. The 24th. The enhancements.
Oh, I thought that's what we were talking about. I'm sorry.
No, we're talking about Thursday, the
25th.
24th.
Oh, yeah, I can't do that. I can't do that. So you'll have a quorum without me, presumably.
Okay, so how many can make it on the 25th and earlier?
I can make it on the 25th after 5 or thereafter. 5 is
5:30.
hard.
5:30?
5:30. 5:30, Brad?
Yes.
Okay, so most of us, Thursday, the 25th at 5:30. Okay, that works?
We're
It's
meeting
perfect, thank you.
where again?
It'll be
Right here.
Right here.
You said something about you bringing a pizza?
He's bringing pizza, I heard all. As did everyone still
Sorry, I'll
watching.
miss
Well, you're locked in now.
Please stop talking about pizza. Are we done?
And we also, the bookkeeper has sent you the operating report and balance sheet, and I'll make sure a copy is put in your mailboxes.
Okay.
And I think, are there any town board comments?
I want to just mention that Monday, on Memorial Day, Monday, May 29th at 11 o'clock, we will be having a ceremony at Fountain Square, which is now in front of Bank of Millbrook, and it will be VFW Post 5444 will be hosting, and there will be a lunch afterwards for officials, so hope that you can turn out for a brief ceremony honoring our veterans at Fountain Square on Route 22, 343 Main stoplight. You can park at the bank, walk over to the ceremony in front of the fountain. I hope the fountain will be open by then. We'll be doing planting day, as Brad mentioned, on Saturday at 8:30. This Saturday, 8:30, so that the square looks good for that
And
event.
I'm sorry, what time does the ceremony start?
The ceremony on the
11.
29th is at
Oh,
11
right,
o'clock.
That would make sense.
And I do hope Victoria will be able to welcome
Oh,
everyone.
absolutely.
So thank you.
I'll be there.
That's all I have.
I will just say that it is Community Day in the hamlet of Wassaic this Saturday, May 20th. I think they closed the road, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Back in April 20th.
There are activities with the HVA, Housatonic Valley Association, and Trout Unlimited in the garden from 2 to 4. It's kid-friendly. And there will be other various activities. The mill opening and the lantern will be open early, and the, what is it called? Little newsstand there in town will be open.
I think it's
Sells
called a
the-
little newsstand, actually.
Little newsstand.
I don't know what it's called.
This Saturday.
Cool.
So 2 to 4.
2 to 4 is the-
HVA,
yeah.
and where is that being held?
In the garden of the lantern. And then they're going to
Garden
go
of
to the
Lantern.
stream.
I see the garden area, okay. Good. Oh, we should mention the garden tour, right?
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
July 8th, I'm looking very much forward to it. $20, you can buy your tickets online, and I'm sure it's the best event one of the best events.
Sure, my
you'll
garden's
go
on
to.
it.
Yep, which is never dull. There's always something new at Leo's place. So online, you can go to www.ameniagardensclub.gardens.com and buy your tickets online.
And it's 10 to 2, although you probably said that.
Nope, I didn't, thank you.
Okay.
And what
10 to
would
2.
be our reason for executive session?
We would move to executive session to discuss the bid process and
Personnel
The what?
matters.
and personnel matters.
To discuss what?
The bidding process and personnel matters.
May I make a motion to go into executive session to discuss the bidding process and personnel matters?
Second.
Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
And the
Yes.
town clerk is excused.
Okay. Gutierrez?
Yes.
Whitman and Revelard? And
Yes.
Town highway should be included. I don't know if you added that.
should. I did not, but I didn't.
Okay,
know
could
which one
you,
we're gonna do first.
could you amend the motion to
To add.
add the town attorney and the highway superintendent and the town clerk is excused?
Time is 9:49.